single, that's the only way I do. Cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority. Down with the moral majority. Cause I wanna be the minority. Step out of the line, like a ship runs from the hood, marching out of time. To my help me now, the only way the only way I do, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority. Down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. Stepped out of the line, like a ship runs from the herd, marching out of time. To my open now, the only way I go. One light, one mind, flashing in the dark, blinded by the silence of 1,000 broken hearts. For crying out loud, she screamed under me, afraid for all, fuck 'em all. You are your side, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority. Down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. One light, one mind, flashing in the dark, blinded by the silence of 1,000 broken hearts. For crying out loud, she screamed under me, afraid for all, fuck 'em all. You are your side, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority. Down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority. Down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I pledge allegiance to the underworld, one nation under dark, there of which I stand alone. A face in the crowd, a song against the mold. Without a doubt, singled out the only way I do, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority. Down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. Stepped out of the line, like a ship runs from the herd, marching out of time. To my open now, the majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I pledge allegiance to the underworld, one nation under dark, care of which I stand alone. A feast in the crowd, a song against the mold, without a doubt, singled out the only way I do, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority, down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. Stepped out of the line, like a ship runs from the herd, marching out of time. To my helping now, the only way I know. One light, one mind, flashing in the dark, blinded by the silence of 1,000 broken hearts. For crying out loud, she screamed under me, afraid for all, fuck 'em all. You are your side, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority, down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. One light, one mind, flashing in the dark, blinded by the silence of 1,000 broken hearts. For crying out loud, she screamed under me, afraid for all, fuck 'em all. You are your side, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority, down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority, down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I pledge allegiance to the underworld, one nation under dark, care of which I stand alone. A feast in the crowd, a song against the mold, without a doubt, singled out the only way I do, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority, down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. Stepped out of the line, like a ship runs from the herd, marching out of time. To my helping now, the
Good afternoon and welcome to our fifth TCL/FET talk of this academic year. Today we will talk about the minority, or the hidden voices and perspectives that we might not initially firstly see when we do research or do concept developing. I have a fantastic line of guests here and a co-host next to me at the table for the upcoming 45 minutes that we will discuss this topic. Next to me is Chhay. So nice to have you here.
I'm having a nice time. Thank you for having me.
So nice that you're here. You're fourth year TCL student.
Yes.
And you're next to me throughout these 45 minutes and help me with interviewing the guests and unravel the stories behind this topic. I looked up in the dictionary, the Cambridge Dictionary, what is minority? How is it explained? And in one sentence it says, less than half of a total number or amount. So the smaller part of something is a minority. But it's also the state or period of being under the age of full legal responsibility. So when you're 60, you're talked about as a minority. And in social studies, it's mainly talked about a group of people who share some characteristics by birth that makes their group smaller than some other groups in a society and may cause others to treat them unfairly. We probably will talk with Elisabeth and Helen about this in a bit. I also brought a little movie with me before we hit the topic with you, because you are my co-host, Chhay, but your graduation research is also in line with this topic. And we will talk a bit about it in a bit.
Okay.
But what I first want to do is show you a movie from or about Teun Toebes. You might heard of him before. He's also a Fontes alumni. He graduated in the nursing program. And he is on a mission. And he is on the mission to improve the quality of life of people with dementia. And we could say it is a minority group of people, but at least we can say it is a group of people that is not seen a lot. And he is changing that in the last couple of years quite a bit. Let's take a look at him.
We have to revalue people living with dementia again. The fact that you have dementia doesn't mean that you don't have any value in life. My name is Teun Toebes, I'm 25 years old and I'm on a mission to improve the quality of life of people living with dementia. And that's why I started living on the close ward of a nursing home for over 3.5 years. One of my most beautiful lessons on living in a nursing home is the possibility to create friendships with reciprocity. Because what I heard so often from people around me is, why did you start living there? Because people completely forget. But that's not the reality. I discovered that I still could build on friendships with my housemates. For instance, Ad. And Ad really became a very good friend of me. And almost every day, Ad came to my room to ask me, do you want to watch football with me? Do you want to drink a beer with me? Ad didn't know my name, but he knew the feeling we gave each other. And that feeling is the most important thing.
Yes, what's so interesting about his work, about his research, is that he is giving a light to people who are most of the times a bit overlooked, or who are not the main topic of a conversation. So that's really interesting about him. And I'm really curious in the conversation that follows now how you do or did that in the research and the development that you did in your work so far. But first I go to you, Chhay, because you're into a very interesting process. We already talked a bit about it because I'm your community coach and your graduation coach is here as well, Bas. So can you briefly tell us about the topic that you're researching?
Okay, so my research basically focuses on the intergenerational communication between young Hindustani people and like the older generations. Basically how they participate in conversations with family during with older relatives. Because out of research, the language plays a role in this, but also them growing up between two different cultural worlds. They grow up in the Netherlands with a Hindustani background, and I think it also it clashes sometimes when you grow up here. And another big part of this place is also the hierarchy, the family harmony that goes along with this. So yeah.
You have a Hindustani background as well, right?
Yeah. So I think what also really helped me to get into this topic is because of my own experience as being a Hindustani man growing up in the Netherlands, but also just it also started with how I really just want to have more with my cultural roots. As I've gotten older, I wanted to learn more about my roots. Where do traditions come from? Where do traditions come from? What does it actually mean? So this is also what led to the starting point of my graduation project.
There's a very particular tradition, and that's the part of the language.
Yeah.
Sarnami.
Yeah.
We will look at a little movie, or better listen.
Yeah.
And talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's hit it.
Oh, Baba, namaste.
नमस्ते नमस्ते सलाम सलाम सलाम
सलाम माई कैसे कैसे तंदुरुस्ती
अच्छा है भैया
बाबा सलाम
सलाम माई सलाम तो अली देखे अच्छा बेटा तुम के बाबा बैठा
बैठा बड़ा धन्यवाद है
बैठा
हम लोग के दर्शन आप लोग के भी पाए गए आप लोग हमारे दर्शन
ना हम लोग सोची हम लोग यही बिरतुआ में रहली तब हम लोग के एगो औरत के बेन कम से तो हम लोगन बोली जाई सबे सौके रे बाबा माई के ढेर दिन भर हम लोग ना देखली था हम लोग बोली चली तनी से देख ले
फरफेरी हो जाला तो भाग गया यही
So, what do we hear here? Chhay?
Okay,
what are they talking about? Because you can talk, you can hear and understand this language, right?
Yeah, true. So they're basically talking about how they haven't seen their parents in a long time. So now they are visiting the parents and asking how they are, from what I've heard. But I think what's also really interesting is that you didn't hear it in this type of video, but Sarnami also has some words of Dutch in it. So sometimes you can also it's like a mix between the language is the language came from India when the Indian contract laborers came to Suriname to work on the land. And based in Suriname, the language was created with dialects from northern India, and the Schanang Tonga, which is a language that is spoken in Suriname, but also it has some words of Dutch in it. So I think it's really interesting how that language came to the Netherlands.
What you've noticed, and maybe you are part of that as well, is that many young people still understand the language, but struggle with actively speaking this, and that is fading away, that people are able to actively speak it. So the language is maybe already a minority, but becomes less and less hearable in our society. Why is that a problem? Why can we see that as problematic?
I think it's a problem because even when I talked with you about the documentary, Pole to Pole by Will Smith, it's actually shown how important a language can be to a culture, how it can be used to really express their own cultural identity. And now, for example, if a language disappears, disappears, so for now the Sarnami language, it actually it's more difficult to pass on traditions, cultural stories, personal memories, because our culture, the Hindustani culture, is mostly shared through this language. There's not a lot of written about in books on the website. So that's why this language is really important, and also for if you want to pass this on to the next generations, how will our future children be raised, if they don't know about the language? It's an important aspect of the culture.
Yeah, so when the language fades away, an important heart of the culture fades away as well.
It's more than just words. It's it carries so much more emotions, humor, family values, and family values, and also just it carries like the emotions behind it.
Yeah. What I hope I understood it correctly from your research is that you also noticed the communication between the elderly people and the young people, so they can understand the language, but there's also you took a look at the behavior, so you saw hesitation, respect, but also distance between understanding the language but not able to speak it. So those are intriguing elements. You will graduate as a social concept designer. In what way do you use these elements in coming up with a concept or an idea? How do you make that tangible, these behavioral aspects?
That's a really good question. Like over time, I noticed that it's not just about creating like a physical product for them. It's really just about creating an experience, because my study, like my assignment, is really just about like creating a safe and natural moment for them, which encourages the participation. So for me, it's really important to look at the emotional patterns, and I do this by applying different research methods. I do this by really just like creating an informal moment for them to really co-create observation. I use observation methods for this, and I do a lot of. I also do a lot of research by going on a field trip to the Suriname Museum and the World Museum to really just like get a glimpse of what the history was like, to really just like understand it even better. Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
And then we go to our other guests.
Yeah.
What do you hope to get out of this talk? To sit here next to me and to speak to other TCLers about their journey in working with a minority or hidden perspectives.
Yeah. I honestly really hope to just create like honest, meaningful conversations with you guys, because it's like also just about because like these stories carry like so much. These stories are, I think, also like really emotionally layered, and I think it's also really just interesting to learn from their perspectives, and also, I think that's like really good of them, and I can learn from that.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to our next two guests. Yeah. We have Elisabeth van der Stelt next to you, Chhay, and Helen Fitzpatrick. Both TCL alumni, ILS alumni, because you graduated in 2018, and then the study program was called International Lifestyle Studies.
Yes.
You graduated in February, Elisabeth, with a very interesting project. That's why we invited you here as well. So you had a graduation research on participation barriers for women in asylum centers. Yes. Chhay prepared quite some questions for you, so he will mainly lead the conversation with you. And Helen, well, like I said, TCL 2018 graduated. In 2022, you graduated on a sociology master at Tilburg University.
Yes.
You work now at Movisie.
Yes, I do.
In a team that focuses on enabling participation in the work environment. You are addressing issues like employment, homelessness, poverty, and debt. And let's start with Elisabeth, or not?
Yeah, so Elisabeth, before we dive deeper into your own research, could you tell me a little bit about your graduation project and what personally drew you to this topic?
Yes, of course. So, as I said, I did my project about participation amongst female refugees in asylum centers.
Yeah.
And I chose this topic because it's quite dear to my heart because of my mom mostly. She has worked with refugees for years as a nurse. She even went to Lesbos, which is a Greek island where many refugees enter Europe. And there's a big camp, and she just took care of them as a nurse. So amongst other things, these stories always came to me, and it had a big impact. So when it was time to pick a topic, I was like, okay, I want to do something for this target group. I want to know them a bit better for myself also, because of course you hear a lot in the news, and I just really wanted to get to know them and create something of importance.
It's nice. And would you describe these women as minority within the system?
Yeah, I would, mainly because of the lack of able to give them a voice. Language barriers also here is very difficult, and they are in this system which is long, difficult, uncertain, and they don't have much of a say of where they go and what is happening to their lives. So in that sense, I would say...
we see here a very particular picture that you also used in your graduation report, right?
Yes.
Can you tell a bit more about that?
So, yes, I like to use visuals to carry the emotion as well, because there is a lot of emotions with this target group, with these women. The stories that they tell or don't tell is very, you can see it in their eyes, you can see in how they interact with you. And yeah, feeling alone, because at the location it was mainly a location, editie, which is an asylum center where people came alone. There's also asylum centers with more family-oriented. So I was one where people came alone, and you could see, with the sadness and the difficulty of missing family, missing people they love. So I try to convey that with some pictures.
I think there are also there's also lots of like hidden feelings for these women.
For sure.
How did you research this? Like, how did you approach this?
It was quite a challenge.
Yeah.
So I started going every Wednesday to the asylum center to participate as a volunteer. So it was a women's group, and I would be there every time. It was difficult to communicate, but I was there just to observe, to be part of what they were doing at that moment. So that helped. So slowly they shared some stories. Sometimes language was difficult. Once I did a kind of a mood boarding with them, so they did it with pictures, created their how they were feeling, what they want, what they need, what is a good day to them, how do you visualize that. So that was one way. Another way was that I was interviewing status holders, so that are people, in this case women, that already went through the whole process of the asylum center, and they have a status here in the Netherlands. They were a bit more free and open to talk about their experiences. Yeah. So they were very kind enough to share their story with me, and I think the emotion came from those interviews together with my observations at the center itself.
Let's go to Helen for a bit. Can you explain us a bit about Movisie, the organization that you work for? What is it about, and what projects are you typically involved in?
Sure. So I work at Movisie, which is the National Knowledge Institute for Societal Issues in the Netherlands. We are located in Utrecht, and we work on a bunch of different topics. Inclusion and diversity is one of them. I personally work in a program that's really focused on enabling meaningful work and participation for everybody, but specifically for people who are in vulnerable positions, who are often belonging to the minority. And we also focus on the basic human right that people should have to have, like, a basic standard of living. So you should be able to have a roof over your head, not live in poverty, not worry about, where is my next bill coming from, those types of things. That's what we work on. And projects are very diverse. We can either be working on a government project that they ask us to work on, or it's more like a market research. We work a lot with municipalities, policymakers,
what are you
workers.
Working on at the moment?
At the moment, I work a lot on transition theory, and we look at solidifying the position of local initiatives that help people that often belong to the minority. So we see that there's a lot of initiatives that are popping up everywhere in the country that really do very meaningful work.
Can you name one that really inspired you?
So I spoke about one earlier today. That's the Eagle Shelter, and I really like them because they provide a place where people can just be, just everybody's welcome there. We don't work with indications, labels. It's just, you're welcome. You just introduce yourselves with your first name, and that's it. And everything else that you want to share is up to you. And it's a place that allows people to just be themselves, to meet people, to, get out of isolation, work on their own talents at their own pace. And I really love to see the type of work that they do. And there are so many more in the country, and we feel that they are part of the solution, I guess. So if you want to change the system, a top-down approach is very slow, and it's very meticulous, and it's difficult, whereas we see that if you want to have real change, you need to look at what's happening right there in society, at the bottom-up initiatives. What are people setting up to create change? And we think that they can really add have a very valuable contribution to society, and they can actually take away issues.
You studied sociology as well.
I did.
I'm very curious also for the TCLers who are watching this program. So what do you learn there? And in what way is it an add to your TCL profile?
So as a sociologist, you learn to study society as a whole. So you kind of look beyond individual behavior. So you're really looking at, so why is a group of people saying the things that they're saying? Why are they behaving the way that they're behaving? And what is driving that behavior? I think what it really taught me is to really question why things are the way that they are. So you don't just take it at face value. Somebody can tell you they feel a certain way, but I question, why did we get here? So what is the system doing that makes people feel a certain way? And I think it added to my skills is because back when I was a student here, the program was a little bit different. You used to graduate as like an all-round trend researcher and concept developer, and I felt a little stuck when I graduated because I wasn't a concept developer. I was definitely more into research. So I felt like I needed to go a little bit more in depth with that. And by studying sociology, I really learned more about theories, like how to study that, how to do scientific research as well. I think a lot of the times, especially in the social world, if you want to make change, unfortunately, the government organizations, they rely on facts, data, so you kind of need to be able to provide that, and fortunately sometimes that requires scientific research alone, not just professional knowledge or experience knowledge, which is actually something that we value a lot at Movisie. But we see that, the harsh truth is that scientific knowledge is still something that's very heavily relied upon, and I think, with sociology I learned how to do that. But with what I learned at ELS, or back now TCL, is how to then translate that into practice. So get it out of your research seat, or like from behind your desk.
What a perfect combination.
So it's a combination, yes. So it's really, I learned the practical side of society here, and how to study it. I learned that at sociology.
For both of you, the question, what have you learned during your experience so far about getting the hidden perspectives or the hidden voices on the surface, to really look behind the layers and see what is not heard and seen, what needs to be heard and seen? What is both your experience there?
I think it sounds very simple, but just to talk to the people who we are talking about, I was very surprising that some facts that I got to know very quickly, the people I was working with or stakeholders had no idea, and I figured it out after a few conversations, and I'm just taking the time to really sit with someone.
That's a bit shocking,
It's,
isn't it?
Because they don't know about
Just
it.
have an honest or genuine conversation is
Yeah.
providing so much information.
I think it's sometimes also getting lost within the system, a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, a lot of things to do, that the small, simple things sometimes get lost a bit.
Yes, yes.
That's quite a quote. Small, simple things get lost in the systems, in the so-called complexity.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that the way we work is by always incorporating the people that we do the work for. I cannot judge or decide for somebody if I haven't been in their shoes. How can I decide what somebody needs when I don't actually know what it's like to be them? So we always take their perspective into account, and I think it makes the work better, it makes it more effective, but it's true, it gets lost sometimes. You know, you speak to many organizations and they don't actually speak to people. They don't see what's going on. Maybe even at your own company, you don't even see what's going on, or, you know, your municipality doesn't know what's going on.
Do you have an example where you got an insight from a marginalized or a hidden group or hidden perspective that completely shifted your perspective? Because both of you mentioned really honestly take the time to talk to the people that you work with. Do you remember something that your perspective got changed?
Well, I remember when I was doing research on people with mental health issues, how they were just saying, like, nobody told me that, you know, I have a right to this or that regulation. Nobody listened to me. I was just hiding what was going on with me, and then
it's the basic human rights.
The basic human right, you know. Yeah. So it's just like hearing all of these stories, and then what actually struck me probably more than hearing from these people is hearing from the people who don't speak to them. Like every single time, I'm just amazed. I'm like, it's so simple. Listen to these people. Like we were talking earlier today, I was teaching a class here on stigma. So many people are stigmatizing minority groups when if you just talk to them, your prejudices might just completely vanish. And it's really striking to me, like how such a simple solution, it's just barely incorporated, I think.
Is there an important question that you need to ask?
Because you mentioned actually in your project you described Thuis in Os as a place where participation works. But like, what happens there differently compared to the traditional, as I'd say?
So I'll explain. Thuis in Os is a best practice which I used in my project, which is an asylum center, which is not run by COA, which is the main organization that houses all the refugees. So it's an independent organization. And maybe that's also why they are a bit more free in what they can do. And why participation is high, according to me, is because they have, for example, residence council, which is that the people that live there at the AZC or at the Thuis in Os have a really say in what's happening. They are having a say in the rules that are applied there. They even help hire the people that's gonna work there. So they have a lot of say, they have their voice, which is really nice. And they also have a rule that they will not transfer you whenever you're there, which creates a place of safety and security, which helps also with the participation. So that's the main differences.
It's nice. And what do you believe needs to change first when you look at the traditional assets?
It's difficult because it is because what I said is that COA runs the most AZCs, and I acknowledge that it's a big system and it's not an easy task, and that is a lot of rules from the government and political climates, and it's very difficult. But the main thing I researched and came out was the safety and the safety of the environment of these asylum centers. And I think that is the first thing that has to be changed to create more participation. I think that's the biggest thing, a safe environment. And that's not an easy task, I know. I know that.
I have one more question for Helen, and then we already wrap this conversation up and go to our second conversation. So when we talk about giving a voice to minorities, there's actually two questions built into one. I'm curious from your perspective, whose voices are we hearing and who might we still be missing at the moment? And how do you recognize blind spots in your own research? Can you briefly answer this? Sorry,
it's a complex question. So whose voices aren't we hearing? Well, there's always in groups, there's always going to be people who are more for whom it's easier to speak up. Whereas they don't always, they don't represent the entire group. So I think it's just important in your work to always just kind of ask people, even like, oh, do you maybe know somebody else that, you know, has a voice? Because there's so many minority groups. You can't speak to everybody, but I think it's good to just keep your eyes open, ask the questions, ask people if they can refer other people, and get to know them. And I think in blind spots, I think I always try to keep learning about. I don't get to decide how they feel, so it's you need to always be aware of your own bias, and you know, kind of like challenge yourself on that, and always ask the questions, always verify with the people that you're working for and with, because it's not up to me to decide that. So I think that's something that you always need to keep in mind.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Do you have an add to that?
No, I agree also. Yeah, that to have more input, and that you see multiple people say the same thing, for example, and then you can take conclusions out of that. So, yeah.
So we will make. Thank you so much. We will talk when we finish the show a bit more. You. We will have a short bridge here. It's quite a song, so we have a bridge, and it's from a song from Green Day. It's called Minority from 2009, so a bit late zeros. They're singing, I want to be the minority, I don't need your authority, down with the moral majority, because I want to be the minority. Thank you, Peer. It's our transfer moment for our next two guests. Thank you.
Against the mold, without a doubt, singled out the only way I do, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority. Down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority.
We're back with two fresh new guests, Floor and Kim. Thanks for being here as well. Floor, you're a fourth-year TCL student at the moment. Working on your graduation, you're doing a project that's called I Love My Back.
Yes.
Can you guess what it's about? You already know what it's about. So it's you will graduate as a social concept designer. I Love My Back is a research on Scoliose. Yes. And you will talk in a bit and tell us more about what it is. But I will first introduce Kim as well. Kim van Koulil, you graduated last year, right?
I did.
As a social concept designer. You already have your own company, right? It's called Kim's Impact Concepts.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're mainly focused on the mental health, well-being in all kinds of ways. But particularly you graduated and you did research on the psychological impact of burn scars on young people.
Yeah.
Both very interesting topics, and you as well focus on young people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Young girls, yes.
Young girls particularly.
Yes.
Can you tell us what scoliosis is about?
Scoliosis is a curve in the spine. So when you're mostly teenage girls, the spine will grow in a curve, and they don't know how it comes. But it can cause a lot of pain, and you have always back pain. And sometimes when you're in your teenage years, you get a brace. And that's some kind of plastic thing around your...
I think we see
yes,
here
you
one,
see a picture.
Right? Yeah.
That's a kind of brace you can wear. And this helps to neutralize the spine so it don't grow further. But the brace can cause a lot of pain, and the pressure is very hard. So that's what I'm focusing on, and I'm mostly focusing on the mental impact of the brace because it's very visible, it's a visible thing, and it can cause a lot of mental health issues.
Well, how would you frame this? Is this a minority group? Would you call this a hidden perspective or something? Because it can be quite visual when you have a brace. So is it hidden or not? What is hidden to you in this topic?
I think what hidden is in my topic is the mental issues you can get. Two more of kids with scoliosis can have 2 more chance to get depression. So I think that's very hidden, and also in the healthcare, the physical aspect is very talked about, but the mental health issues not. And I think that's problematic.
And that's what you're focusing on. What drew you to this topic?
I have scoliosis myself, but I never wore a brace. So I wanted to focus on something I didn't know about. So that's why I got to the brace, and I want to focus on that. And I also saw pictures of it, and it was very big. And I thought, that's a lot of plastic you were wearing, and it can be very good.
I'm curious because we just talked with the other 2 guests about talking to people, have a conversation. So in your research, you talked to girls, right, who are wearing these braces. So is there something that surprised you, that you learned as well, although you have it yourself as well?
I think it's mostly about that the teenage girls, scoliosis is not very known. So scoliosis is not talked about very much, and people don't know what it is. And that's what they say. They don't want to talk about it very often because they always have to say what is scoliose. And they don't want to explain all the time to every people, and that is what it makes it really hard to talk about it constantly, and that makes that they feel insecure, feel bad about themselves. And I think that's what surprised me the most in my research.
I'm curious for you, Kim, to make a bridge from your story to yours. So the psychological impact of burn scars on young people. Do you recognize things that Floor is telling in the topic that you did research on about? Because a scar it depends on where on the body it is. It can be very visual or not. It can also be hidden on your clothes. And I can imagine that it can also cause mental problems. Is that so or not?
Yeah.
In what way are you related to what Floor was just telling?
I think it also has a really big impact because these burn scars, you can see them or you can cover them on your under your clothes. So for some of these young women I interviewed in my research was that these scars caused that they were different they were seen different because people can see you do have some burn scars, but some of these women, they said, I embrace it, it empowers me, I'm proud of who I am, this is what makes me me, and I own it. But there were also a lot of girls it was all about their mindset, who didn't say, I'm proud of it. They were scared about it and about the opinions of others when they showed their scars, when they were going to the beach or to the swimming pool, and where they need to where they had to show their scars to other people, and that had a really big impact on how they were feeling and their own struggles. So I think it has an impact, but it depends on how the individual thinks about herself and the mindset they have. Is it positive or is it negative? And what is the self-image? Is it a good self-image or a negative self-image? And that is very important on how they see themselves and how they deal with these opinions of others around them, I think. So I think it's all about the mindset they are having.
I'm very curious how, as a researcher, because now you can look back, you're in the middle of it, you can look back on what happened there. So as a researcher and a concept developer in the end, how do you make sure that you're not just studying people but with this experience, but that you actually represent their stories in a respectful and accurate way in the concept that you create? How do you do that? Were you aware of that, or is it something that you taught or learned about backwards when you look back, or did you already initially do the things about this during the work self?
Yeah, I did already do that initially, because I think the power of a social concept designer is that your target group, like in my case, young women or young people with burn scars, they're not only the target subject you need to research, you need to interview them or do research on, but you can work with them as co-creators. So not only in your research phase, I did one-on-one interviews with them to understand what they were going through, what the problems were they faced, or what feelings they struggled with. But when we finished that research part, we stepped into the new phase, and that was the design phase. Like, okay, this is the problem, and now we need to design a solution. So as a researcher, I could say, okay, I have all my insights, and I can brainstorm by myself on a solution for them and to improve their quality of life. But I think the important thing about being a social concept designer is that your target group are the co-creators. So what I did was I brought together 3 young women with burn scars, and I just facilitated the process where we brainstormed together as a group of 4 on this topic and on the problems they face, because I have my own assumptions, but not the real lived experience they had. So I think working with them as co-creators does a really good thing to your work as a designer or as a researcher.
Yeah, helps you to be really accurate, inclusive, and not only illustrating, but really using them in the process and creating the concept.
Yeah.
Is there an illustration of a particular moment in that co-creation process that really was impactful?
Yeah, I think the moment when we were brainstorming, one of the girls said, it was a girl, she was 21 years old, and she grew up with these burn scars since she was 8 years old. So she had a lot of experience living with these scars, and she could say, okay, I'm proud of it, I'm proud of who I am, and the things that happened to me makes me who I am. But she knows that there are other persons who are a bit more fragile, a bit more who are struggling more around the age of 16. So she did say to me, okay, now I am 21, and I have this lived experience where that made me stronger, and I want to help these younger generation. So she wanted to put her experience into practice to help improve the quality of life of the more fragile younger generation of these people with burn scars. So
her
I
position or her role changed a bit in the story.
Yeah, and she wanted to be a role model for these younger generations. So it shifted, and I think that is the most beautiful thing that one of them said, and really impacted the way I saw my research and the project.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Question for both of you, because you're both a social concept designer. So as a researcher, or mostly a designer, how do you, and you already did it in your concept, elkaars verhaal, each other's story. You can tell later on a little bit about it. But how do you translate these often invisible experiences that you touched upon a little bit in what you were saying, into something that others, because that's what you're talking about as well, that this target group also want to feel understood by others, but how can you make that translation that others can understand, connect? How do you do that as a designer? What do you need to take into account into that translation process?
I think that something can be for the person themselves be really big, what can be for other persons look really small. So living with scar can look small for other person, but for person, him or herself, it can have a really big impact on their mental health, what you can't see. So making that visible, like the feelings or the struggles they are going through, making that visible as a researcher or as a designer in the exposition, in case my exposition, making visible what they are feeling and what is going on in their head is then, as I think, really important to bring out into society, because people around them can't see or feel what they are feeling and what the struggles they are facing.
Is it then also a bit about storytelling? So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Storytelling is the key in this topic because they experience something in a really deep level. Like their feelings were so big, or the struggles they faced were so big, where other people could see them and think, okay, but why were you even struggling? But in their head, it's really big. So storytelling is really important in this moment, I think, yeah.
How is that for you, Floor? Are you already in the translation process that you need to, all the things that you've learned in your research, that you need to do something with that and create a concept?
Yes, I'm busy with a concept now, but I think it's also very important to translate the research into something visual. So maybe an empathy map or something that tells the story of a teenage girl who has it. And I think it's also very important to make pictures of them, to tell the story with pictures. That's something I want to do. So I want to picture the girls with a brace to tell their story. But I also think it's very important to listen to them in creating ideas, so it's you can make their ideas visual.
Well, that co-creation process, you can talk later on with Kim about it. We have to wrap up in a bit, but can you briefly tell us what your concept eventually was about, Elkaars Verhaal?
Yeah, the intervention I worked on, Elkaars Verhaal or Each Other's Story, is about bringing these people with burn scars together as a group, but matching them as individuals, so one-on-one, and dive deeper in their own story, share them with the buddy, the other peer they were matched with, and dive also deeper in the story of that person. So maybe the other person just experienced something real different, like a accident with hot water instead of fire, but the feelings and the struggles they experienced growing up with these scars can maybe be the same. So they can help themselves, give them more recognition or perspective on life, how to deal with these struggles they face in their younger years. So it's all about recognition and perspective that they can give each other because they experienced the same feelings and struggles in life, I think, growing up with these scars.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Nice. Chhay, do you have a finishing question to one of these or to the both of them? You don't have to, but maybe
no,
there's
I don't
something.
Think I have a question, but I think it's just really, interesting what you did and what you like both are, doing. You also like raise awareness and like also like help other people. So I think you guys are doing good. So
Thank you.
So joining me in this short conversation for more or less 45 minutes, which is quite short. I think we just hit the tip of the iceberg about this topic, but we could talk more and more about it also in different sections. And is there something that you would like to continue talking about from what you've heard now if we had more time?
I think I would continue talking if we had more time about like the research approach. Like there are lots of like hidden feelings. Like how do they like in their research like approach this? Like how did they do research about this? In a specific way. So yeah. I think that's it.
Nice. Well, I did a little bit of research, or quite some research, but also research on hidden perspectives before we started this talk. And I just found a paper that's called "Silence as a Source of Information in Qualitative Research," and I found that so interesting that you can use silence as a useful tool in your methodology and investigate that silence, and that not only language and words and what people are saying is important, but the silence
behind
is
it
a form as well to research, and I found that really interesting. So yeah, maybe we should figure that out.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's
More.
interesting. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here,
Yeah.
Elisabeth and Helen as well, and
Thank
Floor
you.
and Kim
Yeah.
and Chhay for being my
Yeah, thank
co-host.
you
You
for
did
having me.
great.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
It was really nice to have this conversation with you, and also people who are here in the audience and at the back of the glass with the headphones on. I know that you are and were there, so thanks a lot that you were joining us. So nice. And also for people who are watching this back, we have one more talk in this academic year. It's a FAT talk, so it's institution broadly cast. It's on Tuesday, June 9th, and it's on the future of the news. Very important what's going on with the news and how we represent the news at the moment. And from a TCL perspective, we take a look at, okay, what can we tell about the future of the news? So that will be very interesting as well. So please tune in then as well. June 9th, see you there and have a good afternoon. Thanks a lot for watching.
Against the mold, without a doubt, singled out the only way I know, 'cause I wanna be the minority. I don't need your authority. Down with the moral majority, 'cause I wanna be the minority. Stepped out of the line, like a ship runs from the herd, marching out of time. My love now, the only way I know, one light, one mind.